So you want a budget keyboard, and you've been looking around, you've seen the Keycrons and the what have yous, but there's always one problem. Those keyboards, they need mods. Howdy hey, I'm Hipyo Tech, and I'm no stranger to modding. I put sand in keyboard, and I love a good tape mod. But I'm here to ask a question. What if budget keyboards didn't require modding? What if you could just get a keyboard and it would sound and feel good enough? Every once in a while, a keyboard pops up and does just that, but they're always like $200, and that's really not budget-ish. So today, I'm gonna be checking out the Dust Silver 75, which is a keyboard that starts at 80 bucks. I'm also gonna try to mod it to see if it actually makes any difference whatsoever. Also, wait, what's this? Another, even cheaper keyboard? That we're gonna talk about that one later, actually. Before we get into the video though, listen to this and tell me if you think this keyboard is modded or stock. Leave a comment down below. Speaking of modded, go ahead and mod that subscribe button because I reckon 69% of you aren't subscribed, and hey, it's free. Also, I make funny videos. Now, before we figure out exactly how good this keyboard is, let me start by saying this video is sponsored by Dust Silver. However, all of my thoughts are my own, and they did not get the chance to review this video. However, what they did do is give me a promo code that can save you 7% on this keyboard if you use code Hipyo at checkout with the link down below. Bing bong, post edit Hipyo here to say that their shipping is also free to the US, which is $30 cheaper than Keychron. Now, Dust Silver makes a ton of different keyboards, but this is their 75% model. In my opinion, 75% is the best layout. Do not at me. Now, this keyboard starts at $79.99 for the wired white LED version. But today we're going to be taking a look at the wireless version, but just know that most of the stuff is similar. And honestly, I'd recommend you get the wired version anyways. As far as the accessories go, it comes with a cable, which is fine, and a switch and keycap puller, which is great. It also comes with this weird, like, papery stuff. Kind of reminds me of something Nintendo gave me once, like a legal document. Anyways, as you can see, this is the lilac version of the 75% keyboard. Appearance-wise, you're probably gonna love it or hate it. Like, for me, these colors are really, really cute, and I really love them. Also, wait, what's that keyboard? Okay, we're looking at that later. This is a spoiler. There's somehow going to be 2 keyboards in this one video. Spoiler time. Also, that one's like $30 cheaper, so maybe it's going to be good. Anyways, as I was saying, before we take this whole entire keyboard apart, let's talk about what you actually get when you buy it. Based on this little see-through view on the product page, it doesn't actually look like they put that much in it, just some silicone and some foam, but it does feel kind of hefty. The board's construction is almost entirely plastic, and it kind of has this like interesting kitty view. I imagine the 3% of my audience that is into really, really cutesy aesthetics is going to be really, really into this one. And you're probably thinking, Hipyo, this is a plastic keyboard. It's made out of plastic. There's no way a plastic keyboard can be good. Well, it has a metal badge. You making my heart go. Now, similar to a tech YouTuber being a rock climber, looks can be deceiving, and actually plastic keyboards can sometimes sound better than their metal counterparts. Looking at you, the original line of Keychron Q series. For those out of the loop, they pinged harder than someone's internet in the wilderness. There's also this mysterious light strip at the bottom of the keyboard that I really hope lights up, otherwise it's just gonna look really awkward. Speaking of awkward, it's kind of awkward how many options they have when you're purchasing this thing. I can't go over everything, but I definitely recommend you go with the wired white backlit and Gateron red switch 5-sided dyed keycaps, or the black switch if you want a heavier linear feel. Speaking of heavy, if you go for a higher toll on your wallet, then this part of your keyboard will pull off and show a switch and stuff. It was really smooth until I forgot the word for switch. This will allow you to use the board in a wireless mode, as we mentioned before, and ooh wee mama, that's some RGB, hold on. Now, this board has full RGB LEDs. It's even got that really nice side glow and little logo glow, which makes me very, very happy. But there's an aspect to these LEDs that make me not very happy, which we'll talk about soon. Now, if you're a big fan of customizing your keyboard with macros and stuff like that, you'll find that the software doesn't really stand up to something like VIA. VIA's like what Keychron offers and other custom brands. And why do these side panels look like they can pull off? Like if I just, oh God, I just pulled off the side panel. I'm doomed. Why does it look like little butts or little pillars on the side of the keyboard? I'm a bit confused here, but I'm assuming this is intentional, kind of like a Joy-Con thing. Can I put a Joy-Con from a Nintendo Switch on here? Now remember, the reason that we're here is that we want a keyboard that we don't need to mod. So I want to take this thing apart and kind of see what's making it tick. So first, let's start with the keycaps. Now you're probably thinking I'm holding the key to the universe here, but it's actually a keycap. a dye-sublimated keycap. So if you see the double shot keycaps on the listing, it's not that. Ow, Nola, please stop biting me. Nola is biting me while I'm doing a voiceover. Now their dye-sub keycaps are pretty clean. I don't see a lot of softness in their legends, but their font choice is kind of disgusting, in my opinion. Maybe this is like ketchup on a pickle or barbecue sauce on a donut, you know? It's not for me. The font is definitely a bit too gamery and a bit of a turnoff. Now, the Key Night viewers among you might notice that this board is hot swap, meaning you can swap the switches without needing to solder, which is great. But you know what isn't great? The north-facing LEDs that make it so if you swap the keycaps, you might get some interference. But you know what turns me on? Don't take that out of context. These Gateron red switches. Now, if you've looked at custom keyboards at all, you see a Gateron red switch and you're probably like, wow, that is incredibly lackluster. There's nothing going on of substance here. However, these are different. They're lubed from the factory and maybe they're like Gateron Pro Reds. They really don't say, so I'm kind of just assuming here. But I've tried a lot of Gateron Reds in my days and these feel starkly different. They feel incredibly smooth to type on, and I also don't notice any spring ping, which I might be noticing with a keyboard in the future. I imagine the experience is probably pretty similar with the Gateron Blacks, but I can't speak on those because I didn't personally try them, so I will give my recommendation on the Gateron Reds. Just to compare, I'm going to put it up against the stock Keychron red switches, which might be made by Gateron, but I'm honestly not sure, that came in my Keychron V1. The Keychron V1 is a similarly priced budget keyboard that I've recommended a lot in the past. However, what we might see here is that we might have a new contender. Let me just do a quick side-by-side sound test after putting down my springtime desk mat from kineticlabs.com, link down below. Also, this desk mat matches this keyboard so stinking well. What the? Sound tests aren't super conclusive of anything, but I feel like it's an interesting comparison. Okay, wait. I'm saving the rest for later. But did you hear that? That is the comparison of a similarly stocked Keychron V1 to this thing. And I'm already decently impressed. To me, it sounds a lot deeper and feels quite a lot smoother. But like my therapist always says, it's time to open up. The keyboard. The keyboard, Hipyo. Open up the keyboard. Why do you always have so much trouble opening up keyboards, Hipyo? Maybe your YouTube channel would be doing better if you didn't have trouble opening keyboards. Maybe you'd have 1 million subscribers if you could just use your strong little rock climber hands to open that keyboard. So, at this point, I hit a roadblock. I had virtually no idea how to open this thing. There wasn't like a guide or anything. So I'm just kind of going in blind here. I thought at first that you just needed to pry the sides open, and then I was like, no, I see screws. Maybe I need to unscrew these. Maybe they're screwed into standoffs or something like that. And then I was like, no, it's definitely that I need to pry this thing open. It's definitely gonna work. Copium. So after hurting my hands a lot, I realized they were clips, and I just needed to undo the clips. So if you ever do decide to open this thing, you have to undo the screws and then undo the clips. But it's very violent and very not moddable. So essentially, if you do end up needing to mod this keyboard, which we'll find out later, don't. It actually really sucks to mod. It sucks to take apart, sucks to put back together. But anyways, what we see here is potentially foam, which we'll check out in a second. And wait, why is the board so empty if it sounds so decent? I'm actually really confused here. Like, are you guys seeing what I'm seeing? I don't see any case foam, and this board didn't sound hollow to me. Maybe I've completely gaslit myself or something like that, but maybe it's the silicone layer or this bottom foam layer or something like that. Now, the bottom foam layer is actually glued to the bottom of the PCB, which could be seen as a pro or a con. I was gonna try tape modding this thing, but I feel like this kind of already acts as a bit of a tape mod because it's got a solid seal on it.
Hipyo, tape mod, more tape mod.
And looking at this thing parted out, it looks like they've actually got a decent amount of stuff in here. But as I said at the beginning of the video, our goal here is to figure out whether or not you need to mod this keyboard. You know, maybe you might not need to mod it, but maybe it'll sound better if you do. That's the type of thing I like to go for. So because I was working with a board with a battery, I didn't feel like using anything that would be too flammable. So I decided to go with my favorite mod, the kill mat. If you're Matt watching this video, I don't want to kill you. I'm sorry, Matt. I did not mean it. I love you, Matt. I'm not trying to kill you, Matt, but I'm trying to use the kill mat to fill my keyboard. Are those bars? Did I just do bars? Was that a rap? Okay, so I went to go get a breakfast sandwich, and I kind of forgot what was happening in this voiceover. But we're gonna figure out what was happening to this keyboard in just a minute. My initial thoughts would be because I filled the keyboard with more material, it might sound deeper and less hollow. But here's the problem. It already sounded deep and not very hollow. As I mentioned before, I thought about the tape mod, but the glued-on foam kind of prevents that. There's already foam in between the plate and PCB. Like, technically, the only modding you could really do to this board is taking stuff out. Shout out to the video on the top right where I talk about keyboards that can sound good without foam. Foam isn't the only way to make a keyboard sound good, although it does make it sound deeper usually. So keep all of this in mind. And remember back to that first sound test I showed you. Was that the modded version or the not modded version? Who can tell? So based off face value, with this thing at around $80, which is the lowest price you can configure it, I definitely recommend it. At $140-ish, which is the highest price you can configure it to, that's a bit of a harder bargain. But what is a super bargain is the Dust Silver K61. That segue was smoother than me if I ever get a Manscaped sponsorship. But you know what isn't smooth? So I asked for this keyboard as well, as the 75 seemed incredibly appealing, and I thought this would be a similar deal. However, what I quickly learned is the looks can be deceiving. Remember we talked about that earlier? We've come full circle. Now ignore the sweat that's on the keycap. The Dust Silver K61 looks absolutely stunning. It's got the same lilac and pink. The keycaps look less gamery, which is really cool. And at first glance, it kind of just looks like a nicely customized GK61, but oh god, what does that feel? The feel is not so stellar. So the first keyboard might be so good that we don't need to mod it, but with this one, there's something else underneath the hood. It's also a hot swap keyboard, but the core difference here is the switches. These are Otemu Reds. Unfortunately, Otemu Reds don't have lubed springs, so this keyboard ends up sounding like a bit of a war crime. So here I was thinking we could get an even better budget contender at $53, but ultimately the K61 isn't really one I can recommend. But what I can confidently recommend is the 75. Now remember that first sound test? If you guessed that the keyboard was stock, then you were correct. Now I'll leave you with a sound test of before and after, but as you'll be able to notice, there is no difference in modding this keyboard. Heck, even the stabilizers felt great stock. I didn't have to do anything to them. So, you know what? You don't need to mod this keyboard.